Hello there and welcome to you Talking to Me. After the summer break, we are here back in Strasbourg, focusing on the immigration crisis. This crisis could widen the gap between the west and the east of Europe, as some eastern countries are reluctant to take in refugees. That's the discussion we will have with two members of the European Parliament, Mr. Claude Moraes, you're a British member from the Socialists and Democrats group, hello, and Mr. Branislav Škripek, you a Slovak member from the European Conservatives and Reformist Group.
Yes.
Hello, and welcome both of you.
Thank you.
So, during his speech this morning, Mr. Jean-Claude Juncker, the European Commission President, said a speech about the State of Union. He said that 160,000 refugees will be relocated under a mandatory quota system, and he wished all member states will be on board. So, Mr. Moraes, do you think this is realistic, knowing that Slovakia, Hungary or Poland are reluctant to take in refugees?
There is reluctance amongst some member states. I think that's natural. I think there's a lot of fears amongst citizens in some of our countries. My own member state is opting out, for example, and going its own direction. So yes, there are fears, but I think it is realistic because 160,000 for the whole of the European Union. Turkey has taken over 2 million. Lebanon's population, I think, is almost doubling. Jordan. And now those people are coming out of those camps into the European Union. So 160,000 should be a number that should be able to be absorbed in the European Union.
So you believe in this, and you, Mr. Škripek, you from Slovakia, so your country is reluctant to take in refugees. Why?
First, I need to point out that I do oppose the mechanism of compulsory redistribution of refugees for several reasons. Firstly, that the size of the countries are very differing, and second, refugees does not seek to come to our places. We simply, the countries of V4 simply does not give the social benefits in such height or such dimension as the Germany or Austria and some others. But I do stress that we need to help, and I constantly was criticizing our premier for offering very little help. So I would challenge our representatives to show much bigger heart to bring the help, but I think it's unacceptable that officials from Brussels would dictate to different countries. No way. I cannot accept.
We will have a recorded question from Hungary. MTVA Radio, a Hungarian Euranet Plus member, has a question for you related to this refugee quota system. We listen.
Talking about quotas, do you think it is realistic that those people who moved thousands of kilometers in order to get to Germany as the only destination will stay in, for example, Estonia or Bulgaria, wherever they would be resettled by quota? Thank you.
Mr. Moraes, could you react to
I think it will be difficult. I think many of these refugees have sensed hostility from those countries. I myself was an immigrant to a European Union country, and so it's not easy. They're human beings. We are all human beings. But the issue is that you have to show leadership. And those countries which are not used to refugees, but in fact some of those countries have produced refugees themselves, and they should know their own history, you know. They should realise that this is a very critical situation. And some of those countries, we mentioned Germany, you mentioned Sweden, have really done a lot. And if we don't have some very limited burden sharing or solidarity, you can't keep asking Sweden and Germany and Austria to do everything. It's really unfair, and it's also unfair to Italy and Greece to keep doing everything. So nobody is asking small countries like Estonia, Lithuania and so on to do everything. We're just saying it may be possible to at least be symbolic. Because remember, 160,000 for the whole of the European Union, is not, I think, going to break the back of the European Union.
Okay, so Mr. Škripek, solidarity is not that the most important that we need to focus and show in the EU. I mean,
I think this
coming
question,
from some Eastern partners, we seem to have less solidarity towards this side, so...
But the question given simply shows the other point of view of the whole thing. I think quotas are in some degree unfair even for the refugees. If they would be told that you are going to be settled there without their any consent. So, because what would be the key how to choose which group of people would go to which country? So, as I said, I don't think quotas are any good solution, but there is a huge, we have to make more stress on the government to give a real and wider help. So I don't
we
think
will come
this
back
would
on
be,
the fund and the money that will be given to the countries. So we have a first comment on Facebook. So Lenka wrote for Slovakia, we should say the truth in Slovakia. Our problem is not with Islam, but with people who are not white. Isn't the real problem for part of the Slovakians, Mr. Škripek? This is
the real
case
problem
in
because
Slovakia.
the Muslim people would come to Slovakia.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the arguments which even the people who works in our asylum process are saying and describing. We already had thousands. In 1994 we had 10,000 Muslim refugees from Chechnya, and none of them stayed. Generally, we can say that this is another experience that Muslim people really would like to go somewhere else because they have communities in different countries. We have no one mosque in Slovakia.
But that you mean that you will accept Christians refugees, but not Muslim refugees?
No, that's not right. In no way we can say this. We will have to, and we have to help to everyone. But it's much easier to integrate Christians, and I think this is a very normal thing because culturally we are much closer. And as I stressed, we already had many Muslims, refugees coming, asylums, seeking asylum, but they left simply. So we have an experience, they are leaving our country.
Yeah, Mr. Moraes,
I think it's very important to note that if you're a Syrian, Islam in Syria is Syria is a very secular country. Around 10-15% are Christians anyway, Syrian, Syriac Christians, but of the Muslims in Syria, they practice their Islam in a secular fashion. It's not a very overt, even an overt practice. The problem these countries have, indeed my country and other countries have, is that these people are different, as the person on Facebook said. And this is a problem not just in Slovakia, it's a problem in many countries. Okay. It's a problem of integration. And what I would say to those countries who are new to refugees is that it is not a shame to admit to this, but the issue is not to have huge numbers at first, but for those governments to try and do the best on integration. And by the way, this is not just a problem there, it's a problem also in Belgium, in the Netherlands, and Britain. Don't think just because we have mixed populations that refugees have an easy time. They don't.
Okay, so we follow. And as Mr. Juncker mentioned during his speech also, when we talk about refugees, there are no religions, beliefs or ethnicity to be distinguished. But let's go to another comment on Facebook. Giorgio wrote, I don't know if there is a split between the West and the East, but the split between the North and the South is already here. Eastern countries should help Italy, Spain and Greece more than before. Now they understand better why. Mr. Moraes, could you react to
the split between South and the North and so on? You see, I think the big imperative here, and this is, I understand the difficulties for many countries, is that there is an emergency here for Italy and Greece. And the Italians and Greeks, I think we would agree, have really been patient. I mean, the Italian Navy, without any EU programs, have been still, as we are speaking now, saving lives in the Mediterranean. And the Greeks don't have the money. And I think they need to have some relief. And this is what we're talking about. So for this reason, we need to be flexible.
Okay, we go back to Italy with Giorgio from Radio 24, or Italians member of Euranet Plus. We'll listen to his question.
Good afternoon, Laeticia. Good afternoon to your guest. Well, my question is quite simple. Wouldn't you think, and of course I talk to our guest, that it's time that a country like Italy that have been challenging these big issues of migration for the last years, and I would say at least 5 to 6 years, isn't it time that you share the burden of this great complex phenomenon that is migration? Thank you very much.
Mr. Škripek,
Yes, of course, there is no question we would not share this burden. The thing is the way, how to. I would even expect that probably the countries who are already dealing with this situation for longer time, and we don't have so much experiences, they can help us with probably specialists how to deal with the whole situation. But as I said, we already could see in our asylum experience that generally nobody stayed in our country. So how can we force anyone?
So we will go to another issue, so about the money and the funds. So the Commission proposed 1 billion euros for relocating refugees, including 6,000 euros per refugee. So related to the money, we have a recorded question from Germany, Claudia Knopke from IMS Radio, also a Euranet Plus partner. We listen.
The Greek crisis has shown us it is very difficult to find an agreement, but somehow there has been one. Maybe because it was only about money. So could money now help also? All countries which are not willing to take in refugees have to support with money the countries which are taking care.
So, Mr. Škripek, more money will make Slovakia changes.
Money will help, but it's not the only mean. What I experienced, our people did much more than our government. We have Christian organizations who simply challenge the public, and they got 1,000 volunteers to integrate families or to integrate people who come. So I think people are able to help.
Mr. Moraes, is this crisis a question about money?
It's not a question about money, but money can help as an incentive, particularly for new countries which have not had the experience of helping refugees to integrate. Money can help because it can be an incentive for those governments. It can help persuade people that this is not a bad thing. And the other crucial point is that you can find that very often these refugees are coming from professional backgrounds and so on. You may not see that on the television pictures, but eventually you'll see that sometimes they make a contribution. And very often that's why the budget helps, because in time you'll see they can make a contribution, and very often they won't want to go back to their countries. And we've seen this happening over many decades.
This will be the last word. Thank you both for coming, and thank you all of you for watching, and see you next time. Bye.